report. All right, there's Mama D. Okay, so I've got a new, let me see if I can find it now. Okay, so I don't know how to get, I'm trying. So welcome everyone to Akana's product overview and with the wellness experts. And tonight our topic is the EE Center, and we have a special guest with us, Ms. Deanna Moray of Rezenergize Wellness Center in Indianapolis. So right now, though, I'm going to share my screen and introduce myself. I've been working, guys. Uh-oh, what happened? Okay, I'm not gonna get excited. I'm just gonna move this over. Uh-oh. Oh, fiddlesticks. Okay,
Go to
oh, fiddlesticks. And,
Are you in presentation mode, Dr.
I'm
Betty?
trying. Where is it? Why do I always lose that?
It's okay. See, there's an arrow. Okay. See that arrow?
Okay, hold on. Where?
There's an arrow, like in the middle of the page, and I think it's because your screen is over.
Did I do share my, I did do share my screen. Okay.
You definitely shared it.
Okay.
I'm pointing to it, but you can't see me.
I can't see. Yeah, right there.
It's
Okay.
directly in the center of both pictures. Directly in the center of both pictures.
Down.
You see it?
Oh,
Down.
okay. Okay. I'm sharing my
Down.
screen.
Come all the way down, come to the center of the two
Down,
pictures.
down.
Wait a minute. Let me let whoever that is in.
Okay, let me be quiet.
Okay, I'm gonna close that. Say what now?
come on over.
Down.
Go over to the right, go over to the right. And go up in the
Go up.
center of the two pictures. Yes.
Now go, no,
Come
go
down,
Down.
come down real
Down,
slow,
down,
real
down.
slow,
Slow,
real
slow.
slow.
Left.
Come on down, go to
Little
the
tiny.
To the
left.
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 To the
Come on
left.
to the left.
Left.
See
That's
that
it.
little arrow right there? Click
Click.
that. Double click it.
No.
Just right there. There you go.
Boom.
Oh.
Slide to the left. Oh, wrong meeting.
Slide to the left. That's right. Okay, but how do I, fiddlesticks. Okay, can you all see the whole thing? Oh,
No.
Dr. Betty, were you in Canva?
here we go.
Or were
Here
you
we
in
go.
PowerPoint?
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, you're good. Perfect.
Ta-da! Now, as far as the whole picture, Dr. Roz will no doubt edit this portion out. Okay, anyway, you all can see that, can't you? Okay, let me introduce myself. So I am Dr. Betty Smith. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a doctor of naturopathy and a certified body talk practitioner. I am the CEO of Wellness by Lotus. I am a connective tissue specialist. That's what a naturopath is. And let's see what else. I do body talk. I'm an energy worker. I'm a wife, mother, and a grandma. And I am the medical director of Akana, and I'm also a certified wellness coach, as well as being an emerald in the company. And I'm a proud member of the Medical Advisory Board. So that's enough about me. And so tonight we're going to quickly watch a video before we get started with our special guest, Deanna. I'm going to stop. No, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to move to I'm going to move to nowhere. Hmm. Fix. Now, how do I
Dr.
find
Betty,
that?
is there a way that you can mute everyone or at least put up a co-host so that everyone could be muted?
Oh, would you like to do that?
I can't, but
Okay,
we do need to have everyone else muted.
muted, okay.
Oh, Dennis Manning.
Well, where are you? Anita, there you are. Okay, you're the co-host. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Dennis. How
Okay,
you
so
doing?
here's one more thing, guys. If
How
you
can I
have
get
any
sound on my
questions,
TV? I have a cable connected for.
if you have
to
any questions,
whatever.
would you please put them in the chat so that
I would-
once we get
Yeah, I have it
online with
on the
Deanna,
computer, but I want the
then
sound on the computer.
Meridian, could you please mute
I got
yourself?
him. I got him. Once we get online with Deanna, any questions that you have, she can answer them for you, okay? Okay. Now, if I could just find this quickie. I don't know where it is. Okay. I'm gonna stop my share
There you go.
because I don't know where. I'm trying to find the video. I was gonna show you guys. Sorry. Okay, so
It's
trust.
probably hiding behind one
It
of your.
is, and I
Can
caught
can
myself
you
pulling it
minimize?
up so that
You
I
got
would have
this. You
everything
got
in
this.
order
You
and
got
it would
it.
just go perfectly.
It's going. Can you just if you minimize some of those windows, you'll find it. Because I know you have it up on your screen.
So, okay, minimize some of the
Windows. Because the
windows.
video is the video in YouTube.
It is.
I know. So you got that window up. It's just hiding.
Exactly, I do.
I know.
I
I
do,
know. I'm pointing to it.
Okay.
It's hiding behind one of those screens.
Okay. Not there.
And the other thing you could do real quick, you could just open up another browser and go to your
Okay.
YouTube and it should come right up because that was probably the last YouTube
Oh,
video.
earlier it is. No, well, there it is.
We
Thank
got
you.
this. You're welcome.
I am Dr. Sandra Michael. And
Oh,
I'm
but I
also
didn't share my
a
screen yet?
40
Share your screen.
and
Okay.
I'm
You got
a
this.
research in applied integrated biophysics. I
Uh.
invented this. First.
Dr. Betty, I'm not sure if you shared it.
Didn't. I had to open the screen back up. Here we go. Now. Where is it done?
We can't hear it.
Purpose or being on the planet as far as I'm concerned. But I came in that way in that, my parents met in engineering physics, both of them top secret government scientists. My mother is a nuclear physicist working on the bomb, fissioning plutonium in the labs the whole time she was pregnant with me. And my dad, the electrical, mechanical, structural engineer. And he worked on Mach 3 and stealth bombers. It began with my parents meeting in engineering physics to bring that forward with all the healing energy. How the EE system came to be from my initial work in 1978 with my scalar healing light chamber. So this was an evolution of really listening cell by cell to find out what allows maximum capacities for light and life force energy. How do you create maximum benefit? And asking, okay, God, now how do we create the next quantum leap of consciousness for this planet? So I was asked in that meditation to create the technology after listening to so many bodies and listening to all the wisdom that everybody carries within them. How do we bring that forward? How do we call forth all that knowledge from within us and support that accelerated evolution of what's really in our DNA and our God code? But it's all about how do we take that work for the healing of mankind, for the healing of the environment. And so this was a big project as far as technology has been used in the past to disrupt, destructive, detrimental fields have been used where the body is in constant compensation, taking all this energy just to cope with a hostile environment as we've been living in electrosmog, but radiation and EMF, ELF, and a total polluted environment of all the toxins in the air, the food, the water. And yet life force is so strong that we want to support that life force energy, because as we can activate the light at the core of the DNA, and as we then radiate light, nothing that is not of that light can affect us. So that's what the technology is developed for, but also to take technology that was used in the past for detrimental and destructive means to take that energy and create a total transmutation of energy into beneficial, into coherent, life force enhancing energy. Some of the side effects of scalar, it moves at superluminal velocity, which means beyond the speed of light. So that's part of what it does. It's a scalar vortex that creates coherence, which is a very, very important principle in that where there's coherence in the body, along with that superluminal velocity of movement. That's your cell signaling, and it's enhancing an entire environment within us and around us. So we ended up putting the technology, one of our initial systems that we began doing more research with, besides with the Tesla Society. We did research with NASA, with a system in Houston, and they were studying the effects on the DNA and found that it was repairing all the breaks in the DNA, all the genetic damage, and lengthening telomeres. Now, why is that important? Now, some of the research with the initial system was they found that there was a total neutralization or nullification of all detrimental fields, including radiation. So now we're dealing with the ionizing radiation, like from Fukushima, but radiation basically, to understand it easily, unzips the DNA, breaks those bonds, shortens the telomeres, creates accelerated aging, so to speak. But everybody knows radiation creates their cancers and things like that. And what we're dealing with now on the planet is everybody is dealing with what's been considered from some of the NASA physicists I've worked with, an extinction level event after Fukushima. that in itself was considered an extinction level event because the levels of radiation were so high and would create so much damage. So that unzipped the DNA. But with this, we're working with unified fields that puts the DNA back to its original divine matrix, its original divine design. And they found it was putting the DNA back and lengthening the telomeres. So that's true age reversal. But it's just by giving the body the energy that it relates to anything and everything, because the power that made the body heals the body. We're working with how do you plug the body back into that cosmic light socket, universal unlimited power on, and how do you charge every cell of the body as quickly and easily as you recharge your cell phone? It's like a whole body charger. Wireless transmission, because scalar is a wireless transmission, and that release of charge gives all this energy that the body relates to as hyper healthy energy that it understands what to do with, and the body grabs the energy, gets excited. Literally, it's cellular excitation as it's activating the light within us. It started with research with the Tesla Society, and so John Orva was one of the top researchers from the Pentagon who was brought to meet me, who's the head of science for the Pentagon, Skunk Works, Phantom Works, things like that. And he came in with $100,000 oscilloscope to measure fields and explain what he was seeing and what it meant. And he found it was a total nullification or neutralization of the detrimental fields, creating coherence, but creating that true 0 point energy where it was nullifying, but also releasing all this beneficial energy, a total trans.
Very low voltage so the body can heal itself.
My sound is out.
How do we bring that forward? How do we call forth all that knowledge from within us and support that accelerated evolution of what's really in our DNA and our God code? But it's all about how do we take that work for the healing of mankind, for the healing of the environment. And so this was a big project as far as technology has been used in the past to disrupt, destructive, detrimental fields have been used where the body is in constant compensation, taking all its energy just to cope with a hostile environment, as we've been living in electrosmog, but radiation and EMF, ELF, and a total polluted environment of all the toxins in the air, the food, the water. And yet life force is so strong that we want to support that life force energy, because as we can activate the light at the core of the DNA, and as we then radiate light, nothing that is not of that light can affect us. So that's what the technology is developed for, but also to take technology that was used in the past for detrimental and destructive means to take that energy and create a total transmutation of energy into beneficial, into coherent, life force enhancing energy. That's some of the side effects of scalar. It moves at superluminal velocity, which means beyond the speed of light. So that's part of what it does. It's a scalar vortex that creates coherence, which is a very, very important principle where there's coherence in the body, along with that superluminal velocity of movement. That's your cell signaling, and it's enhancing an entire environment within us and around us. So we ended up putting the technology, one of our initial systems that we began doing more research with, besides with the Tesla Society. We did research with NASA, put a system in Houston, and they were studying the effects on the DNA. and found that it was repairing all the breaks in the DNA, all the genetic damage, and lengthening telomeres. Now, why is that important? Now, some of the research with the initial system was they found that there was a total neutralization or nullification of all detrimental fields, including radiation. So now we're dealing with the ionizing radiation, like from Fukushima, but radiation basically, to understand it easily, unzips the DNA, breaks those bonds, shortens the telomeres, creates accelerated aging, so to speak. But everybody knows radiation creates their cancers and things like that. And what we're dealing with now on the planet is everybody is dealing with what's been considered from some of the NASA physicists I've worked with, an extinction level event after Fukushima. That in itself was considered an extinction level event because the levels of radiation were so high and would create so much damage. So that unzipping of the DNA. Well, with this, we're working with unified fields that puts the DNA back to its original divine matrix, its original divine design. And they found it was putting the DNA back and lengthening the telomeres. So that's true age reversal. It's just by giving the body the energy that it relates to heal anything and everything, because the power that made the body heals the body. So I've been working with how do you plug the body back into that cosmic light socket, universal unlimited power on, and how do you charge every cell of the body as quickly and easily as you recharge your cell phone? It's like a whole body charger. Wireless transmission, because scalar is a wireless transmission, and that release of charge gives all this energy that the body relates to as hyper healthy energy, that it understands what to do with, and the body grabs the energy, gets excited. Literally, it's cellular excitation as it's activating the light within us. It started with research with the Tesla Society, and so John Orva was one of the top researchers from the Pentagon who was brought to meet me, who's the head of science for the Pentagon, Skunk Works, Phantom Works, things like that. And he came in with $100,000 oscilloscope to measure fields and explain what he was seeing and what it meant. And he found it was a total nullification or neutralization of the detrimental fields, creating coherence, but creating that true 0 point energy where it was nullifying, but also releasing all this beneficial energy, a total transmutation of detrimental fields into beneficial. So he explained how that works, but he also explained how it had carried the energy of bone regeneration and the bone healing energies, and he saw that, and also talked about how we're colliding photons and creating something called photonic fusion. Again, talking about that cold nuclear fusion type event, but photonic fusion, where that's part of what occurs in the body. So another physicist I worked with, Panos Pappas, found that what occurs in the body is actually cold fusion. So we're working with that natural energy that's in the body, although this is the real, suppressed science, so to speak. This is not, what you're going to find in physics schools, because this is the quantum physics. It's your biophysics, and it's that high level of physics. So I've worked with all these top scientists, and he explained how that works and what that means with that photonic fusion. And with fusion, there's a release of active hydrogen and active oxygen. So with that, you've got some of the cellular mechanisms of action being created, in that you've got your ultimate oxygen therapy, where it's releasing the active oxygen in the body to fully oxygenate the cells, to fully oxygenate the organs, and particularly to oxygenate the brain. Because part of what radiation does is ionizes the brain. So then you've got that reduction of IQs. Well, it wasn't that I'm a genius. I wanted to trigger everybody's genius. And that right-left brain synchronization and whole brain thinking. So this is one of the first things it does, we found with the research, is that right-left brain synchronization back to 0 point, back to that energy of pulling the body out of fear reaction patterns, pulling the body out of what's, to put the body basically back in homeostasis and dynamic homeostasis, where it's a continual reorganization to higher levels of function, putting the body, the brain back in balance. And every part of the body wants to be in balance. So it's giving the energy that reminds the body how to do that. It's really back to Tesla's work that went through the planet, working with the grids within the planet, around the planet, to generate these fields of consciousness. That's all about alignment with true best and highest potential. It's our exponential as a planet and as a species, as far as how do we live our highest potential? How do we create energy on the planet that we would have in an ideal world? So that's what we've tried to create with the technology. So there's a lot of things that got layered in. It's dense, intentional, informational fields. You've got the photonic aspect, or colliding photons. You've got the scalar aspect, which is very, very important. There's all the benefits of grounding, for example, that's putting the body back. There's a predominance of the Schumann resonance because you need to be very grounded, or what's called earthing. And you can look up that research, obviously, but that's the body's natural timing pulse. But it also relates to ideal optimal brain states. And, so some of the research I did with John Orva, because he was considered the top brain researcher on the planet, and, president of Biophysics Research Association and things like that. So we found that people could go to a deeper meditational state than a Tibetan monk in approximately 7 minutes. Really, really powerful, ideal, optimal meditation states. That's part of the main intentionality of the technology. However, it's in alignment with true best and highest potential. But when you're in that place of balance and alignment, then you're no longer at effect. In that place of balance, you're able to affect everything. So it's a very effective technology in that brings you to that place where you're no longer taking all your energy just to cope, but instead you have access to that power and light and love within you that allows you to affect everything around you. In those ideal optimal brain states, you might let yourself know what God wants you to know, but you're breathing light, literally breathing light, photons, quantums of light through every cell and every part of you, letting every cell know and remember the power of that truth and the love, the light, the eternal light of eternal life that's within us.
All right. So that was very interesting and very
Whether you
informative,
think
wasn't it?
artificial intelligence
Oh,
will save
no.
the world or
No,
end
no,
it,
no.
you
No,
have
no.
Jeffrey Hinton to thank.
No.
Hinton has been called the godfather of
Got it. Okay, so now I have the great honor and pleasure of introducing our guest speaker. And okay, oh boy. Here we go. This is what I want. And that would be none other than, where is she? That's Imhotep in the background. He's trying to introduce her.
We see her.
You see, well, that's not her. I don't know how to get this up here other than here. Let me do it this way. There we go. I don't know how to get it any larger, but I'd like to introduce Ms. Deanna Moray. And she is with the Re-Zenergize Sanctuary in Indianapolis, Indiana. And she's kind of a visionary. She actually is dedicated to overcoming her childhood trauma and abuse. And this is actually what brought her to the EE system. She studied, practiced, and immersed herself in many, many, many different modalities and books and training and healing events, all that she could manage. And she gathered a great deal of knowledge and skills to be able to help herself as well as others. But she said that she found the biggest shift in her experience as a result of visiting an energy enhancement center. And so without further ado, I'm going to close that. Hey, I'm going to bring up Deanna Moray. Deanna, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do that. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
And let me feature her. How do I do that?
Sure.
I don't know. Okay, Deanna, take it away.
It's
Wow.
okay. I don't have to be featured and I can just speak right up. It's so lovely to get a chance to be here with all of you. I'm so excited because I am also an Akana member and I just finished my 21-day cleanse about a week and a half ago. That was amazing. Well, to be honest, I was a little disappointed because by the end of it, I realized just how much pain I had gotten rid of. And that made me sad because I will miss my ice cream. So that's all I have to say about that. I don't know if anybody else noticed. It was like, wow, I feel great. Oh, that's really crappy. Now I can't have any of our ice cream and the things I really enjoy. Anyway, so so good to see you all. And yes, I will even walk in just a little bit and we'll just walk in and sit in the EE system with the computer so you can kind of see all of it as well. What can I say? The most important thing I can say that I'm going to share with you that I haven't been able to share with a lot of other people because it's pretty depthful, but you just listened to an amazing interview with Dr. Sandra. And I'm going to tell you that the stuff that she's talking about and the experience that I've had operating the system for the last year, because we're just now at about a year and a month of being in business and having the equipment installed. She's not kidding and she's not exaggerating when she says that this is a profound equipment that can make a shift in not just your body. It's not just your body that this equipment is helping to shift and change and upgrade and evolve. It's not just, it's also our souls. And the thing is, when you start spending more and more time in and around a facility, and if you guys are starting to go to the facility once it gets installed, and you make regular appointments, like this really can be life-changing. But there's a couple things I want to tell you. When she talks about it being life-changing, one of the things I've heard her talk about in some casual interviews is that if you go in the EE system and you're looking at your phone, you're sitting there scrolling away, playing a game, whatever, looking at some news and such, she says something like, it's almost like putting a protective bubble around you, bounces all the beauty right off of you. Mm-hmm. So really participating, when she said they found that getting in a system and meditating can get people into a state that's as much as a monk who's been meditating for their lifetime. She's not kidding about how much, I mean, seriously, take this equipment seriously when you get in it. Consider it almost as important and almost as carry as much reverence, almost as you would like church. Because I believe, it's just my opinion, but I believe there is something higher vibrational, higher frequency, more divine that happens in that room. And if you get into the system and you commit to, I'll tell you what, one of the most profound experiences I ever had So before we got the system installed here, we had to travel about 4 hours to go to one in Lexington. And we did that about once a month for an overnight because it was a long way to travel. 4 hours there, sit for 2 hours, and then 4 hours home. I'm like, that isn't worth it. So we did a 4-hour journey, and then we would stay overnight and bring everybody we could, grab the babies and grab the old ladies, and everyone goes. That's what we did. So we took everybody we could and squeezed them all into a room and slept overnight on air mattresses, et cetera, and then drove back home. And I was noticing, for one thing I will tell you is that the energy in the system is cumulative. So your body gets penetrated with that energy. It starts making those upgrades. It starts changing and repairing and healing the DNA like she was talking about in the video. It starts making those changes. And then you leave and you go home and your body is still producing new cells from that really good instruction of that new DNA, right? So now when you're replacing your eye cells and you're replacing your knee cells and you're replacing your muscles and you're replacing the nail cells on your fingers and hands, et cetera, now they're getting the cell that you're making now is better than it was yesterday, which doesn't usually happen when we're aging. Usually when we're aging, every year, the cells that are being made are less good, less resilient, less well put together than they were last year. But the EE system allows you to get in there, repair and fix that DNA. And now every cell that is being made from a good instruction manual, a good recipe, right? So that is part of why it's cumulative. So then you get in this week and it's starting to give energy to different things. And I'll tell you, when you get into the system, your body is going to determine what it does with that energy. And that's always going to be different. So for me, I had this idea because I'd heard about so many people having their eyesight get better, right? And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna get my eyesight better. So excited. No. I tell people that the body is in charge. And I kind of think of it as having a little bit of attitude. And it's like, sit down, little girl, you're not in charge. And we have things that we're going to be working on. We'll let you know. Right? That's kind of how I feel like the body is, because I thought my eyesight was going to get better and that wasn't what happened. But, you know, there's some things I knew were possible problems, but I didn't know how much was going on. But I had a whole bunch of cells across the top of my head. You see, I have super fair skin and I burn like toast, overdone in a toaster as soon as I go outside. Well, all of the cells across the forehead, they had precancerous cells happening. And after I'd started getting into the system and working in it regularly, working here and all of that, I noticed that all of a sudden there were all kinds of parts of my skin that started to break out and turn into little scabs. And then they disappeared. And I believe what was happening was all those precancerous cells, they were starting to be eliminated. And so that was first, that was a higher priority. I had some other things going on with severe anxiety. And, you know, I'm going to tell you a funny story. It's not really fun. I mean, it's peculiar. Let's say peculiar, not funny. A peculiar story that I thought was shocking for me. The long and short of it was the first time I ever went to an EE system in Lexington, Kentucky. After only 2 hours, because we went for 4 hours a day for 3 days. And so we sat for 2 hours, went for lunch and came back for another 2 hours. Because I got to tell you, sitting quietly in a room in the dark in the middle of the day for 4 hours is a little challenging. It's like, okay, what do I do? If I'm not going to look at my phone, I'm not going to read the news, I'm not going to play a game, I'm just going to sit here and play diddlywinks for 4 hours. I'm going to meditate. So it was a little challenging. So we broke it up into 2-hour segments. I went down there and I had long haul COVID, which the medical industry was saying, well, we don't even know if that's a thing, but if it is a thing, then sometimes people are finding they feel better after about a year or so, you know, give it some time. I'd already been barely able to get out of a chair for 6 months. And I'm like, you want me to just sit here and wait to just what? Get better? Like no idea. They had no idea. So we went down there and in the first 2 hours, I got out of the chair and I was 50% better. My husband was shocked at how easily I got out of the chair, and so was I. But some of the more profound thing that happened was that when we left there that day, after the very first 4 hours, having complex post-traumatic stress, if you don't know what that is, I can share a little story with you a little later. You can check out my TikTok because I just made a TikTok about the difference between PTSD and CPTSD. And the only reason I encourage all of you to look or learn about that is because you probably all have somebody in your life who has PTSD or CPTSD. And understanding that hidden, almost invisible disability, so to speak, or difficulty, having compassion and understanding for that will help you to support them and to love them through the things that they're suffering from. But I have CPTSD, and which causes severe anxiety. And what that means is that always I'm breathing in fight or flight, which is all chest breathing, right? It's all here. There's never that belly breath that you take when you sing, right? Or when you are meditating, or when you're actually doing breath work, that all comes down right down here into the diaphragm. I wasn't capable of taking any deep breaths into my diaphragm because I was always in fight or flight. So my whole body was always like this, and I couldn't breathe. After the very first 4-hour session down there, I left there and I felt peculiar because I was unusually calm. I was unusually peaceful. And with constant anxiety for the last 30 years, that wasn't something that happened spontaneously. It would only happen after I was meditating for like 30 minutes or an hour or so that I'd get really, really calm, right? Here's the rest of the jump forward another 5 months. And I was driving in traffic after being in the system and working here regularly. I was driving in traffic, in rush hour traffic, and I all of a sudden spontaneously took a deep breath into my guts. And I was like, what the hell was that? Like, I felt like my belly fell open all of a sudden because the system had been changing and working diligently on my constant anxiety, which tears the body apart quite consistently, continuously, all the time. That anxiety is always deteriorating the body. So while I wanted my eyesight to get better, my body was like, you don't know what's most important, but we do. I had never known what it was like to just spontaneously breathe into my guts. In fact, I'm a little jealous because I bet a whole bunch of you people are all getting a whole lot more oxygen than I've been getting for a long time. Just kidding. But that was a real eye-opener for me, that it was changing 35, 40 years of something that I had been working on diligently. And this system changed it in that time period and made that difference in my body, where I started to get out of that constant state of fight or flight. And that wasn't something I could do with any of the therapy, EMDR, hypnotherapy, tapping, all of the stuff that I had done, Reiki and energy healers and ayahuasca journeys and self-improvement training courses and affirmation commitments, right? Where I'm writing affirmations like 10 or 20 times a day in my book and reading them to myself every day and deciding who I'm going to be, right? All of that was what I was doing. Yeah. And I never had as big of a leap forward as I did with this equipment.
That is awesome. So Deanna, so what I'm hearing basically is that the people that come to the center, the reasons that they might come for sessions would be physical impairments or dysfunction, emotional, mental, psychological imbalances, as well as one other thing that I recall hearing about the system is that it actually affects the environment. I think it was like 3 miles out around the periphery of wherever the center is.
It's making that shift because that wave is going out even farther. Now, she was talking about the EMFs. I really believe that everybody that came when the Akana event was here in town and everybody came, the most common thing that I heard people say was, wow, I can really feel it. It just feels so nice in here. It just feels so peaceful. That I feel convinced that experience of that peaceful, calming environment has everything to do with what she was talking about, the EMFs.
Exactly.
Because when the EMFs are bombarding your body all the time, your body is trying to get into resonance. What do they call it when all of the metronomes get in line to themselves? They all get in line.
Entrainment.
Entrainments. Our body is constantly trying to entrain at 60 cycles per second, which is what the electromagnetic fields are, right? But our bodies are only capable of doing 30 cycles per second. But the environment is causing 60 cycles per second all the time, all the time, all the time. And the body's like, well, okay, I'm going to try to see if I can entrain with that. It's stressful on your immune system and on your entire body all the time. And if you get into an EE center, the first thing that's going to happen is you get to sit down for that first 2 hours and just be without your body trying to entrain to a speed that it's not capable of.
And so that activity in and of itself causes a great deal of oxidative stress.
Absolutely. It is so detrimental to our bodies. And, you know, I think because people, they can't feel it, they can't see it, they can't see really evidence of it. It isn't like, you know, if you go into a room and it's really dry in the wintertime and you shuffle your feet or somebody gives you a balloon, you can make all that static electricity happen where you can see the dry air is affecting you because your hair is all standing on end. So you can see the evidence of a dry room and extra static electricity, right? It's evidence. We can't see or have any visual evidence of the way that EMFs are affecting us. So most people don't think, I never did. I never thought anything of it. I'm like, what's an EMF? I have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't believe you that I need a $50 or $200, how many ever dollars charm at the New Age Festival that says, oh, these protect you from EMFs. I'm like, what's an EMF? Whatever.
Yep.
I ain't got the money for that. Who knows if it would work? And how would I ever prove that it works? Right? That's how I felt. But I will tell you that EE system you're going to notice. That's the first thing you'll notice when you get in there is how peaceful you feel.
So I'm glad you mentioned the EMFs and entrainment. I think that the past 3 or so presentations that we did, we focused on EMFs and we gained a lot of information about some of the toxic effects of not only the EMFs on our bodies, but on the food, on the environment in general. And so it's great to know that the EE system has a positive effect on that, because otherwise, like you say, you don't know that you're being affected at all until one day somewhere down the line, you come up with cancer where you had your cell phone or in some or one of your systems. And that kind of thing. And we wonder, oh my goodness, what happened? And I think this is the same thing as with cigarettes. You know, for years, for decades, they said, oh, don't worry, cigarette smoking is safe and yada, yada, yada. And then down the line, we come to find out that it actually causes cancer and many other health problems. And so too, the same thing with the EMFs that we're being bombarded with. We're living literally in a radiation soup.
You know, and the other thing I will tell you that's very important to note and very important for everybody to remember is that because the way that the system works, as I understand it, the way the system works, one of the other things that it does is it improves the permeability of the cell. What does that mean? The cell, when it doesn't have very much impermeability, it means it's all kind of tight and locked up, so you can't see through it, can't get through it, et cetera, right? It's hard to get the nutrients in, the waste out. When it improves the impermeability of the cell, it's kind of opening up those spaces and ways for nutrients to get in and toxins to get out, right? So that's one of the most important things that it's doing is that permeability. When it opens up those cells, that's when you're getting that detox event. because now all of the poisons that you've not been able to get out because that cell is so bound up, now all that stuff starts flowing. Now, that's why it is so important. Please, 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 please do not miss this very important point. When you go home from your first 2-hour session, please make sure you take the bath and not an Epsom salts bath. None of those other baths. Do the recipe as she recommends. It's going to be baking soda, salt, and boron. And it's really important for that boron because I don't know if you knew, but boron molecules, I'll just show my little funny little story. Boron molecules are like, oh, okay. And radiation, oh, you're cute. I really like you. Let's go. And they're attracted to each other, and then they trail off right down the drain, right? So the reason that that bath is so important is because the radiation molecules are in your body, the boron molecules are in the bath, and they're drawing themselves together because they're attracted. Then more of your radiation is going to go down the drain. And that is something that needs to happen regularly. And that's another reason why it's really valuable to go regularly to a system, because we're getting bombarded with that radiation from the 5G, from our cell phones, from the smart meters, from all of that stuff every day, bombarded. And if you can get it off and cleaned out regularly, your body can repair, continue to energize, and stay in better health and have a better immune system fighting things off than it can if it's full of radiation.
Exactly. Awesome. So one last thing is that in addition to doing that detox bath to pull the rest of those toxins out, we want to also be aware of what we are putting into our mouths. What's the point in all of these good frequencies and balancing and reversing of some of the negative effects of our environmental pollutants if we just go back out and start eating garbage?
Absolutely. And she talks about that. Dr. Sandra talks about that a lot. You know what she said in her class? She was very clear. She said, look, people, stop eating barcode foods. If it's got a barcode on the box, stop eating it. Now they put barcode stickers on all of our
Everything now.
But she's saying barcode foods are everything that is processed, packaged, dried, all of that. So
Right.
if it's a barcode food, she says, stop eating it. And, with the cleanse that we did with the Akana cleanse that we did, everything that we had was fresh food, fresh juice, and then of course the cleanse supplies. So I think, how can we get closer to that on a daily basis? How can we get closer to eating the clean food, clean water, clean everything? Because then you'll maintain your experiences with the EE system more often. But I do want to say this one thing. When you go into the EE system, one of the best ways to get the biggest shift in your body, mind, and soul, this is what I did. You go in and you sit down, settle yourself in, make sure you take your phone out, set it outside, leave it off, whatever. And then get in your chair or recliner or whatever and settle in and close your eyes and start counting every blessing you can think of for as long as you can think of them. I sat in one of the systems in Las Vegas, and I did just that. I counted every blessing I could think of, even things as simple as, oh my gosh, thank you, God, for indoor plumbing and hot showers. I just can't imagine life without hot showers and indoor plumbing. I would not want to have to go outside to make my waste outside in the cold. Thank you, God, for indoor plumbing, right? That's something simple that we don't really probably think about a lot to be really joyful about. But I promise you, if you didn't have indoor plumbing, you would be really sad about it, right? So count up every blessing you can think of, every person you can think of, because that energy of gratitude, every single alternative guru, healer, etc., heart math, all of them talk about Gratitude being an energy that is the biggest, most positive energy you can put in your life, in your body, in your mind and soul, and that it radiates out electrically, that they can measure the way your heart is expanding and improving by gratitude. So if you take your commitment into the sanctuary, into your EE system, and you commit to counting every blessing you can for as long as you can think of it. And when you're done counting blessings, do your meditation, get quiet, get your mind as quiet as possible, because you're making yourself a channel for God to speak through. When you quiet your brain, you're leaving room for God to speak to you now and later, because you're practicing opening up the channel and being quiet. And when you do that in the EE system, like she said, it enhances your ability to get into that deep meditation.
Mhm.
You can come out with miracles in your life that are more than just physical. The first time that I did that, we were in Las Vegas. And the very next day, we ended up with a free jet flight from Vegas to Vancouver, Canada, where I have a friend who is terminal. And that was why I wanted to get there. We ended up with a free trip on a private jet.
Awesome.
That's never happened to me before, right? So it's not just physical things that can shift if you get in there and you are committed to taking it seriously, like the divine blessing that it really is, because it's changing your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit, all of it. If you partner with it, take it seriously, partner with it, get quiet and consider it. But we've had people who've come in here and they've been committed to looking at their phones, and I don't think they ever really had a lot of healing happen. They wasted their money and their time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is also interesting, and such great information gives us some insight into the mindset that we should enter the EE system for sessions, so that we can get the very most out of it. And let me see what else. Somebody asked where you could get boron from. Well, actually, the detox packets are going to be available when you come in for your sessions. So we will take care of that for you. And anybody that wants to just get some boron on their own, try Amazon. They have everything.
I'll just throw this out there. Might be good to try to find local businesses to go back to supporting local businesses if you can find them, because Amazon is not as good for our economy and communities as I wish it were. But especially if you you can look online for raw boron, and I'll see if I can find it. I saw a link that somebody had for raw boron. But here's the thing, Meyer, have you ever heard of Meyer 50 Acres? Do you guys have Meyer up there? It's a large chain of stores.
Oh, yeah, Myers.
Yeah. Myers, usually that's where we get our Mule Team 6 borax for the baths that we provide everybody. That's where we get all of our borax all the time, is at Meyer. It's readily available. It's not that expensive, and it's good for you. I will tell you, there are some, I'm going to encourage you to look it up for yourself, because I don't want to put anything out there that I'm committed, that I've stated something about. But there are people who have said, look up boron and borax, boron specifically, but the Mule Team borax is that. It's not dangerous. But there are people who are explaining they have found that boron taken internally in very, very, very small doses. I'm sorry?
I said small, in very small amounts.
In very small amounts. You just put a little bit. I've heard a lot of people talk about how it's helping change their health, because boron is actually also very beneficial for the body.
Is boron not borax, or either one?
It's the same.
Okay.
Same.
Borax is a brand name.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
We're not
I'm looking it
promoting,
up.
but of course, we're not promoting the internal consumption of boron at this point in time. That was
No, we're
just
just mentioning that somebody else.
somebody said, yes, that was their experience. And
But it's
so
for the bath. It's for the bath,
for your
right?
bath, yeah, your
Okay,
detox
got it.
bath, yes. But think about it, what you put on your skin goes in it.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you, there's another reason to take baths on separate from just the EE system. In between, there's a very good reason for you to take regular baths, especially if you're including baking soda. Because when you take a baking soda bath, you are changing the pH of your body. And when you're immersed in it, just like she said, anything on the skin, it's getting absorbed. When you're immersed in the bath in baking soda, you're shifting out some of the acidic nature that's going on in your body. So if you're unusually stressed, if you've had a really crappy day, if you're really emotional, or if you're not feeling well and you feel like you're starting to get a cold, go take a bath with making sure you're taking baking soda, because it will draw out some of that acidic condition out of your body, and it leaves more room for your immune system to take over and kick into gear. But it also does affect you mentally and emotionally, and can help you feel calmer and overcome things, surprisingly. And I say that from experience.
And so that also speaks to when we are doing the cleanse, and I know Dr. Roz is waiting. We'll be done in 1 minute, Dr. Roz. The importance of doing a bath, a detox bath, so to speak, as we are detoxing with the flat belly lifestyle cleanse, because that too, remember, it pulls the toxins out of your digestive system, opens it up so that the toxins in the rest of your organs and your body can now be released, because now they've got someplace to go. So this is actually a great time to incorporate those baths. And also, yeah, and also enhance the elimination of those toxins out of the body. Then the other thing is, of course, our CBD tinctures. CBD allows us to manipulate the endocannabinoid system, which brings the body back into balance and brings all of the other systems within our body back into balance, so that our body, each of the organs and the systems, can now function at their maximum capacity. So, we've got a multitude of things going on here. And when we get into the EE system and then combine all of our tools that we have, look out. So with that, I didn't see any other questions. Is Dr. Roz on here? Dr. Roz, you here? Dr. Roz? The system is such a high frequency and high vibrational field.
Yes,
Negatives
ma'am.
can't hold the space. Yes, Deanna.
So somebody asked if there's a chance that we could channel something else other than the good divinity. And I'm just letting you know, the system is such a high frequency, high vibrational field that you're in. Negativity can't abide. And I can, if you ever want me to come back, I can tell you some stories about things that have happened that it just blew it right out. It could not, negative vibrational things cannot hold space in that vibration. You don't ever worry about that, because it cannot hold the space. And I'll tell you one other thing. I was told by a shamanic person long, long ago, and I experienced it, if you want to make sure and cleanse your home and your space of any negative energies, any negative whatevers, bring in any children that you can and get them to laugh and giggle and play in your home. Nothing chases out negativity faster than a child's laughter, because it's such a high vibration. There is no negative entity that can stand it. Your children, your grandchildren, and their laughter will cleanse your home faster than anything else.
Awesome, awesome. Well, what a awesome note to end on. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Deanna for all of her inspiration, her information, and her tips. And you all come back now. You're here. Dr. Ross, take it away.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deanna.
Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you, Deanna. Enjoyed you.
Thank you, Deanna.
Excellent.
So lovely to see all of you beautiful people. And I do just
Thank you,
want to say,
Diana.
oh, God bless you all. You people are some of the most beautiful people I've ever met. I just loved meeting all of you when you were here because you are so sweethearted. All of you in this company are so lovely and kind and warm and beautiful.
Deanna, can you give us your TikTok, please?
Oh, yes, it's Resenergize. Let me see if I'll flip right over and copy it in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, and you are too, Diana. You're one of us. Akana.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.